Hi, everyone. I'm Abigail Norman, and today we have an action-packed agenda. We'll break down what the title of today's event, Operational Resilience, really means, and how SolarWinds can help you maximize the power of your technology, processes, and people. We're also announcing powerful new capabilities coming to the SolarWinds portfolio, plus major enhancements to our existing solutions, all designed to help you succeed in this new era. We have an incredible roundtable discussion with Torsten Volk from the Enterprise Strategy Group, and we are especially excited about a new addition to the SolarWinds portfolio that some of you may have heard about, a full incident response solution with on-call management capabilities that strengthens the bridge between observability and service management. We're very excited to welcome SquadCast to the SolarWinds family. Also, we couldn't be more excited to meet you in person on our 2025 World Tour. In the coming months, we'll be traveling to dozens of cities across more than 10 countries around the globe, from the United States to Singapore, bringing you even more insights, in-depth discussions, and hands-on deep dives into the topics we're covering today. So be sure to save your seat. We can't wait to see you there. To get started today, let's introduce the theme of this event. As technology and business practices have evolved, you've navigated multiple eras, like tool consolidation, remote work, cloud migration, digital transformation, and artificial intelligence, among others. These opportunities hold great promise, but advancements are accelerating faster than ever. These changes can feel like a wave of disruption, challenging our teams, upending our processes, and putting pressure on our technology. So how do we keep the business stable while staying ahead of what's next? How do we turn disruption into opportunity and use it to our advantage? How do we drive towards success when faced with so many obstacles? We need a new way of working. Welcome to the era of operational resilience. For over 25 years, SolarWinds has been dedicated to solving the real-world challenges you face every day, whether it's simplifying network performance management, integrating your IT stack with observability, or enhancing the services you provide to employees and customers. Our solutions are designed by experts who have been in your shoes, in partnership with many of you, our customers. Today, IT is integral to the success of all organizations, and we're unveiling powerful new capabilities that, when combined, will redefine IT and enterprise management, giving you even greater flexibility to respond to almost any challenge. So why is operational resilience a game-changing approach? Right now, companies are still figuring out the right balance, transitioning to the cloud, managing hybrid IT, managing disparate tools, and supporting both remote and in-office workers. And on top of all that, the rapid rise of AI, especially generative, is shaking things up even more. These shifts bring both huge opportunities and tough challenges, and IT teams are right in the middle of it all. Often when faced with these challenges, we respond with massive projects, huge initiatives, big budgets, and an investment of time we can't afford. But there is a way to respond in a faster and more agile way. That's where operational resilience comes into play. Operational resilience is the ability of your business to adapt, withstand, and even thrive through change, turning challenges into momentum that drives your business forward in service of your customers. It's hearing your teams go from uh-oh to I can't wait for what's next. It's responding with more focus when critical issues arise. It's knowing how to work better together as a single team with a unified goal. It's learning every step of the way and adapting to change more rapidly, which sounds great. But how do we get there? The companies that not only survive but thrive through all this disruption have one thing in common. They've embraced operational resilience. It's not just about technology. It's a broader systems thinking approach to operations that connects people, process, and technology in a smarter, more adaptable way. It means thinking beyond just tools by focusing on how everything works together while always being ready to learn and adapt. Operational resilience allows teams to stay ahead of change instead of just reacting to it. With faster detection of issues, isolation of root cause problems, faster remediation cycles, proactive optimization, consolidating information and processes, and providing better support when needed. During our roadshows, we'll be diving more into the people and process part of operational resilience. But today, we'll start with the technology part. From observability to service management to incident response, Each piece plays a critical role in supporting operational resilience. Observability helps you detect and optimize across your entire technology stack. Service management centralizes support and streamlines operations for every employee. And our new incident response capabilities accelerate issue isolation and resolution. We're strengthening every part of our portfolio, and we can't wait to show you what we've been working on. Let's take a look.
To help showcase, let me introduce my colleague, RJ Gazarek.
Thank you, Abigail. I'm really excited to be here to talk about operational resilience. While it is a broad topic that covers a lot of different areas, today we're going to focus on how great technology can accelerate the process you engage in every day. And as you noted, SolarWinds has supported operational resilience for 25 years, helping IT teams understand the current state of their IT ecosystem with our monitoring and observability offerings, while helping those same teams provide the necessary support and services through our IT service management products introduced in 2019. But today, we're excited to share that we're taking operational resilience to a whole new level across the entire portfolio. Abigail and I are going to look at a few highlights today, including expanded coverage and observability you've been looking for, process aids and service management, new artificial intelligence across the entire portfolio, and last, but certainly not least, the addition of incident response with SquadCast. Let's dive in.
The first major process in building more resilient operations is capturing everything we can. If we're not monitoring every network, application, database, cloud instance, and server, to name a few, it's hard to truly understand what's going on. The complexity of today's IT ecosystems makes it nearly impossible to avoid a weakest link problem. Your application code, network, and server may be working optimally, but if your database is crashing, the entire service is offline. This is the heart of observability, monitoring and detecting issues across the entire ecosystem collectively, not as individual parts, looking at the whole system. Expanding coverage to bring more visibility to more things is always a priority, no matter where those things are located. That's why we're incredibly excited to announce new support in SolarWinds Observability for Google Cloud. Effectively building operational resilience requires a complete picture of your entire environment. Missing key assets leaves a blank spot in understanding your entire system. SolarWinds now offers more visibility than ever before across your hybrid IT environment. On-prem, in Azure, AWS, and now GCP, we have you covered with deep visibility no matter where your assets are deployed.
And what better way to see your cloud assets than with our new NOC view? Now you can flip any modern dashboard into this new view, allowing you to optimize real estate for large screens or projectors while rotating through dashboards on a set time frame. So, Abigail, to me, this seems, like
Hold on, RJ. There's one more thing. Our new NOC view in SolarWinds Observability seemed a little bright. Maybe we can turn that down a bit. That's better. Yes. Dark mode is now available in SolarWinds Observability NOC views. We're also extremely excited to announce our new AWS-based data center for SolarWinds Observability for the APJ region, located in Sydney, Australia. Now, you can have both your service desk and SolarWinds Observability data stored in region.
All right, I know those are highly requested items many will be happy to see. So, Abigail, this is an incredibly exciting announcement, and we're just getting started. Customers are monitoring a broader space, and I bet they could use a little help when critical alerts pop up.
I bet you're right. Now that you're monitoring even more than ever before, a key aspect of operational resilience is the ability to quickly isolate the core issue when a problem arises. Sometimes the alert you receive may have a deeper root cause that requires teams to spend time they don't have uncovering what the core issue really is. So, we're excited to offer a little help with the release of a new capability in SolarWinds Observability. SolarWinds AI Root Cause Assist. RCA helps improve the troubleshooting experience by using generative AI to analyze the rich data available in SolarWinds Observability and conduct a 5 whys analysis to automatically write out the root cause of an alert. RCA aims to reduce the mean time to isolate and resolve, helping you be one step ahead in getting systems back online. RJ, wasn't there something else being announced about SolarWinds AI?
Definitely. There's a few more things on the way. So when we think about building an operationally resilient system, while the ability to respond to disruptions is key, Getting out ahead of problems by optimizing the parts that exist is just as important. This time teams can take now to improve performance can pay off tremendously in the long run. Unoptimized systems can be an incredible drain on your resources, leading to higher cloud costs or purchasing more infrastructure than actually required.
Optimizing your systems is another key component of observability, and we're strengthening that pillar with the release of SolarWinds AI Query Assist for database observability.
Now you can take existing SQL queries and use generative AI to create a more optimized and performative query for your system. We're releasing this soon into a tech preview with plans for a GA later this year. Okay, Abigail, coming up on the home stretch. We've talked about observability and database monitoring. How about ITSM?
Yes, a key set of processes in operational resilience is centralizing information for easier access and providing better services across the business. This is where ITSM really shines as it expands beyond IT and becomes your employee service management solution. A central location to manage company-wide incidents, centralize knowledge, provide services, record changes, discover assets, and track problems. ITSM really serves as your record of operational resilience. We have one more AI capability we released at the end of 2024 in our SolarWinds Service Desk offering, SolarWinds AI Auto-Generated Runbooks. This generative AI addition will take a text-based document, such as a written-out standard operating procedure, and turn it into a runbook workflow within Service Desk, allowing all your SOPs to be centralized in one system, right where and when your agents will need them most. Okay, it's time for the big one. On March 3rd of this year, we announced something huge in the observability and service management industry with the acquisition of SquadCast, a full end-to-end incident response solution with on-call management, alert correlation, SLOs, automations, workflows, and more, bringing together the full observability, incident response, and service management lifecycle. We're going to provide you a walkthrough of this new offering and show you why we're so excited.
Reliability is at the heart of every digital business, and ensuring uptime while reducing alert fatigue is critical for high-performing teams. SquadCast provides a unified approach by combining intelligent alert routing, automation, and AI-driven insights, empowering teams to proactively resolve incidents with speed and efficiency. Let's now take a look at incident response by SquadCast. We're going to explore several key areas of the product, including the creation and handling of incidents, centralization of alert streams and services, on-call management, how teams collaborate, and intentional learning opportunities throughout. So let's get started.
A question that every team and leader starts with when thinking about the health and state of their business is what's happening right now. When you first log into SquadCast, you land on a clean, intuitive dashboard meant to answer that very question. This page is designed to give you an at-a-glance understanding of your ongoing incidents, on-call status, and key metrics, such as recent alert trends. Across the top, we can see how many incidents have been triggered, acknowledged, resolved, and even suppressed, critical to relieving alert fatigue, which we'll come back to later. The interface is straightforward, no clutter or unnecessary menus, so teams can quickly get the situational awareness they need. You can also see the current mean time to acknowledge and mean time to resolve, two key metrics for how consistently and quickly teams are responding to incidents. We can see how these numbers play out across different timeframes, such as in the past week, month, or other custom date range. From here, you can always create an incident manually, but most incidents, like the ones you see here, will be created from a critical alert from observability or an escalated incident from service management. The dashboard provides one-glance situational awareness that helps teams prioritize and take immediate action, reducing response times significantly.
So from this dashboard, we'll look at a few of the key areas that most people use on a regular basis, including a comprehensive view of all incidents open and resolved with immediate access to severity levels, alert source, and owners. A catalog of your applications and services, each mapped to specific alert sources and escalation rules, as well as a graph of service relationships. A management area for defining or modifying on-call rotations, escalation policies, and team configurations. A repository of connectors to monitoring tools, chat platforms, ticketing systems, and more. We will also take a look at SLOs, status pages, postmortems, and runbooks. First, we will take a look at services in more detail as this is where incident response begins. Here, we set up the different services that your teams build, run, and maintain. These can be backend systems, APIs, CI/CD pipelines, data infrastructure, or anything else that you define as a service that has one or more alert streams associated with it. Often these services are comprised of multiple different pieces of technology, such as servers, infrastructure, networks, databases, and applications. And with a central alert repository, there's no more jumping between multiple dashboards. SquadCast aggregates alerts across more than 200 integrations in one place, displaying them with clear tags and severities. And it's easy setup. Each integration is typically a matter of adding an API key or webhook URL. And when it comes to receiving alerts from various tools for your services, one of the biggest challenges teams face is alert fatigue. And SquadCast has a number of ways to reduce the noise. With intelligent noise reduction, SquadCast streamlines alert management by suppressing low-priority alerts, deduplicating related incidents, and leveraging AI-powered features like auto-pause transient alerts and intelligent alert grouping to minimize distractions and keep teams focused on critical issues. And with bidirectional sync with Jira, if your engineers work within Jira, we can auto-create and update tickets for them as well.
So if we take a look at this first service setup, we can see the health of this service over time, looking at how many incidents have been triggered, acknowledged, and resolved, as well as its own metrics for MTTA and MTTR, and the assigned escalation policy. You can also see historical alert data, the various alert sources feeding into this service, as well as any automation rules and documented dependencies to and from other services. Those dependencies are surfaced visually in the service graph, providing teams with a broader view of the relationships between services, which may help identify downstream or upstream impacts. Once services are set up and receiving alerts from your various monitoring tools, we need a way to notify the right people at the right time when a critical alert does surface, such as a customer-facing application going offline. For many of you, every second is critical and can have a massive impact on your business, revenue, and customer reputation. That's why on-call management with scheduling and escalation is critical.
For anyone who has worked on-call knows the challenges of ensuring that the right person is notified at the right time. For some of you, your on-call procedures may be ad hoc manual processes, such as when one person is sending a text message to another. It's critical to have a system that works in line with the alerts being received, as well as leveraging powerful automation to ensure incidents are responded to immediately. SquadCast takes the manual guesswork out for you and simplifies this with two key areas: on-call schedules and escalation policies. On-call scheduling helps you define your operating schedule and on-call rotation patterns to define how your team rotates through on-call duty, whether it's weekly, bi-weekly, or any custom cadence. You can also have multiple teams, such as front-end engineers, back-end developers, DevOps engineers, or NOC admins, each with their own rotations. And once your on-call schedule has been defined, each schedule can be associated with a corresponding escalation policy. Escalation policies allow you to associate on-call schedules with corresponding services to make sure that the right people who can address critical issues for each service can be brought online to acknowledge, triage, and remediate the problems as fast as possible. And once an alert comes in, SquadCast checks if the primary on-call engineer is available. If that engineer does not respond within a set time frame, the platform automatically escalates the alert to the next person or group. And this eliminates the need for manual calls and ensures issues don't sit unattended. Each escalation policy can adhere to various methods of alerting, such as SMS, call, email, Slack, Microsoft Teams, or mobile app, or all of the above at once. With automated scheduling and intelligent escalations, teams reduce burnout, ensure accountability, and minimize incident response delays.
Now, for the heart of incident response, actually managing an incident in real time. The key to successful incident response is centralized information at the team's fingertips, provided in a format that encourages collaborative problem solving. Once a service receives a critical alert from one or more of its associated alert streams, a new incident is triggered in the product. The associated escalation policy is started, and the on-call schedule pings the right teams to acknowledge the incident. Now is when teams can respond collaboratively, working together to triage and remediate the incident as fast as possible. Inside the product, each incident has a timeline capturing every action taken, such as alert acknowledgement, ownership changes, comments, and more. This timeline acts as a central narrative, ensuring that everyone is working from the same information and can quickly see what's happening and who's doing what. Additionally, Teams can view any related past incidents with this service, providing additional insights, helping them resolve issues faster by providing historical context, previous incident activity, timing patterns, and past resolutions.
Two key functions help teams get to remediation faster by standardizing practices: workflows and runbooks. Workflows is an automation engine that helps automatically handle a number of tasks based on specific triggers. For example, when an incident is triggered and the system is a back-end service, automatically set a higher severity and attach a triage runbook. And runbooks are standard operating procedures, or the steps laid out for your teams to take when responding to an incident, troubleshooting, triaging, or even resolving commonly occurring issues. Runbooks include your predefined steps you want responders to take, helping teams further take the guesswork out of the remediation cycle. And when it comes time to actually get the work done, SquadCast integrates with popular collaborative tools like Slack and Teams, so that incident channels are automatically created with the right teams added to the channel immediately. Team members can triage together, share logs in real time, and discuss potential fixes. And with live call routing, teams can connect calls directly to any on-call engineers, bridging the gap from incident reporting to resolution. SquadCast real-time collaboration and automation help teams cut resolution time, improve accountability, and maintain seamless communication across stakeholders.
Once an incident has been resolved, the learning doesn't stop there. SquadCast supports post-incident reviews and status pages. The post-incident documentation can contain details of the incident, timeline of events, impact to customers, and the final resolution steps. It serves as a record of what happened during this incident, so teams can take the time to properly reflect on the incident and incorporate any learnings into changes to ideally prevent this from recurring. These reviews can also have action items created, adding a layer of accountability for the teams. With actionable insights, organizations can implement continuous improvements, prevent recurring issues, and drive a culture of resilience.
The last area we will touch on today is communication, which surfaces in two areas of the product: service level objectives and status pages. SLOs allow you to define specific performance or uptime targets for a service. If the error rate or latency crosses a threshold, SquadCast triggers an alert before customer-facing SLAs are missed. And this proactive approach means you catch issues such as an increasingly degrading service, often before they ever become noticeable to end users. For many organizations aiming for high availability, having SLOs and tracking error budgets can be a significant differentiator in reliability. And lastly, SquadCast also includes status pages with intuitive page layouts to provide a clear picture of current and past system reliability to both internal stakeholders or external customers, making sure that they are always in the loop about your services during outages and performance issues.
Wow. I feel like that's the word to describe what we just walked through. SquadCast is an incredibly powerful offering that drives efficiency and speed, reduces alert fatigue, enhances transparency, drives scalability of process, and helps you ultimately build customer trust through improving stability and reliability. As we enter this era of operational resilience, how do we get it right? Let's welcome Torsten Volk from ESG and Jeff Stewart, our field CTO.
All right, super excited to be here today to kind of have a quick chat about operational resilience. I'm joined today by two really wonderful folks. I've got Torsten Volk from ESG, and I have Jeff Stewart, a very own Solarian, here to chat about operational resilience. And so I think like a really good place for us to start is just the basics, right? So when we're thinking about operational resilience, we're going to have that, chat today. We're going to talk about a few things, how people kind of get through it, some of the maybe hangups, where they get it wrong, where can they get it right, and all that kind of stuff. But let's start from the basics, just the ground floor. What is it, right? Let's start there. Like, what is operational resilience? How should people be thinking about this? And then we'll kind of get into some of the other stuff. But we'll start there. And maybe, Torsten, if you want to start.
Absolutely. And it's interesting, I do a lot of research on platform engineering these days because it's all about getting developers the most productive possible, and resilience is the number one topic, even in that area where we are talking about developer productivity, which shows how important it is. And it's really all about anticipating what could happen and then preventing that bad thing from happening. in a nutshell, right? So you need information that maps all the way through from the technology to the business. So you need to know what your business wants to achieve, and you need to know what your technology does currently. So the business guys should understand the technology impact of what they're doing as much as the technology guys understanding the business impact. So in a nutshell, that's it.
And then Jeff, from your own experience, like how would you define it?
Yeah, and I might pull it up just a level and think about it more at the business level, although definitely technology is a core concept of that. But how I think about operational resilience is really identification of issue, response of that issue, recovery, so that the business can continue to operate. And so I think that can apply across many pillars in a business, not just IT. Right? You've got facilities, you've got legal, you've got, how you serve your customers, and applying kind of this framework of operational resilience across the board is extremely important to keep your business functional and running.
Yeah. You think about what could happen to your business and play those cases through and bulletproof it, basically.
And I'm always interested in any type, like in risk management in particular, and when it comes to security or problem avoidance or whatever the case is how much of that is often reactive, right? And it's saying, okay, we had an incident, we had something happen, and now we need to figure out, like, oh, the backups that we were taking, we didn't actually test them, right? Like that, like that's a pretty common thing that happens, right?
Classic.
So yeah, and so like you sort of get this the risk management sometimes just comes out of a necessity of like having to respond to stuff that like didn't go right or something that went wrong. And I think sort of, kind of coming back off of that tangent a little bit here. But we sort of defined, how we think about what operational resilience is. We've been talking about it today. And one of the areas that I find extremely interesting, when you look at different companies and organizations, many that we've all worked for or that we've partnered with or that we've seen from the outside, they go through these different sort of like phases or stages or eras in the case of our topic today. And so where, let's say, just to name a few of them, right? It's like digital transformation might be one, microservice you mentioned earlier, the move to cloud, and then sometimes the move back to on-prem, right? Another big one that we see and we've talked about personally is tools consolidation, right? Is a big one that companies often will go through. And so what's sort of the fascinating thing to me, because I'm always interested in like the human psychology behind these projects that we engage in, is, and we'll use tools consolidation as a good example here. And so companies will go through and say, hey, okay, we have 400, tools across our organization and all of our departments, and we need to get to the top like 10, right? And so they do that. They go through the exercise, they stack rank them, they get to the 10, and they say, okay, we feel good about this, we're going to roll it out, and they do that. Yeah. And then inevitably a month later, one team, one department goes, well, that doesn't really work for me. So I'm going to go grab my credit card and I'm going to go swipe it and get another tool. And then 3 months later, you're back to 50 tools, right? And so just like that entire concept is very interesting. So just sort of thinking like, why does that happen? Why do we go through these different phases that sometimes either don't get the outcomes we were hoping for, or sort of just we undo them, right? And we can talk about any of those eras. I know tools consolidation is a an important one, but like, why does that happen? Why do we go through that and then we just undo it very quickly? What's the cause of that?
It's communication. It's the people who select the tools, the people who document out the processes. Those are not necessarily the people that do the work. And then the developers come and say, "Hey, do you want me to meet that deadline or not? Then you'd better give me my tools, right? And I'm just going to install this, and I'm going to install that. Oh yeah, for observability, we also need this, and that." And everybody has a little bit of a different mindset, and then different microservices. The whole idea is to have different teams to a degree. I mean, a team can have multiple, but still there will be a bunch of teams, and all of a sudden you're back where you were, because the developers rule, right? They are the critical resource. We always say we waste currently 2/3 of developer time. Literally, 2/3 is one of my favorite numbers to quote, because we are basically spending 100% of the money on only 33% of the developer productivity. So the arguments of those developers when they say, "Ooh, we need to do this, that, and the other thing," and then the arguments of the platform team and of the dev team that come around, that's like, "Oh, we need to help our developers," and all of a sudden you're where you were in the beginning. And we see this with observability tools, and significantly, we see over half of the companies still have more than 10 or 11 observability platforms running. And if they are siloed, then it's a problem. You don't know the impact of one on another, and usually not of one on the business. And you have a different team for the cloud and a different team for the data center. And that's when the complexity comes back, and that's hard to find a solution for.
It's amazing to me how fragmented or siloed IT still is today. And I think that creates some of those challenges. I would also say when we look at the advancement in technology and the pace that over the last 5 years of how things have advanced, right? I mean, we've got, cloud deployments, multi-cloud deployments, microservices, hybrid environments, AI, this vast amount of data. And I think, IT departments go through these projects that you brought up, thinking about a problem as a point in time versus thinking about future problems. And so I think they go out and they buy the tools that solve those needs today without really thinking that through. And then, 2-3 years, shoot, even a year down the road with how fast things are advancing, those tools are no longer capable of solving the problems that they face today. And so I think that's a real challenge.
Comes down to there being a cultural issue as much as a tool issue, right?
All right, so we've talked about and defined operational resilience. We looked at sort of how people might kind of get into places where they're not feeling very resilient, right? Doing some of those projects and then kind of undoing them. And so maybe we sort of wrap this up with help, right? What should people be doing? How should they be thinking of it? I mean, it's a very broad topic, right? We did talk about people and process and tech, and there's a lot of different ways to tackle this. And it is a different way of thinking. It's a different way of approaching business, how your teams run, maybe even org design in some respect, right? But for folks that are sort of tuning in and paying attention and listening, like where can they start? What should they be thinking about? What's that first step that they should take? And maybe Jeff, we can start with you. Like,
Sure.
What is that? What's that first thing someone can go away from today and say, like, if I just do this, things get a little bit better?
Yeah, and I think it is about, it is a massive topic, right? And a massive, amount of work that you might have to undertake by kind of getting operational resilience in your business. And so I think, understanding maybe or identifying some of the bigger risks, breaking that into chunks and starting to work on those, items that potentially pose the biggest threat to your business or your responsibilities as a IT practitioner or whatever your role might be. And, doing some planning around that, thinking about those things that could go wrong, how they could go wrong. And then, pulling stakeholders in to kind of work through that and putting that plan in place. And then I think once you have that plan in place, I think it's always important to practice it, because if having the plan is just the first step, if you don't practice, the things that the steps you need to take or the actions or understanding who's responsible, then you'll kind of be running around like crazy when something actually does go wrong.
Yeah, and Torsten, same question for you. Where, from your experience, the research that you've done, the folks you've talked to, like, there's a lot that can be done. There's a lot to get done in this area, and some people might be looking at this and saying, we're not going to get operational resilient for another 5 years. Like, that's too much, right? But it doesn't have to be that big, right? Where can they start today? Like, for folks that are going to go back to the office today, like, where do they start? How do they start thinking about this?
Yeah, I mean, they need to figure out what is the hidden risk, right? And what I like there, there's all kinds of places in your organization, hopefully itself, where you can look at things that went wrong in the past, right? You need to learn from everything and every time. And ideally, you also learn from others. You see, there was a big downtime when, XYZ Cloud was down and those companies were all affected. Why were they actually all affected? Are we doing something about that. So it's the mindset of being responsible, and from a developer perspective, application modernization is my thing. Developers need to be responsible for how they build their software, so that it's not just done, but it's also done, tested, resilient, and based on what you've learned from the past, right? Every new release needs to be inspired by the previous release. So it's very much a mindset. And when you look at new technologies, you mentioned microservices. I talked about this in the beginning. You have Kubernetes microservices running as containers on Kubernetes, and you can design this. And that was the whole idea about Kubernetes, that you design it so that it's fully resilient, right? You can make it absolutely resilient, but go most companies, it's not so resilient, right? Because it's so complex, and because they can't map all the way through from the service that does a certain thing down to what that service runs on. What is the stack? What is the operating system? And if you don't have that visibility, that's a big problem. So to get to that point, you need visibility across the stack, up and down, full stack. And we find that about 50% of companies don't have that to a big degree, and they don't even know that they don't have it, or they believe they have it. But then you drill a little bit deeper and you see, they wouldn't have those issues, of unpredictability if they really had full stack observability. So, if you will, that is a really big part of it, to look at an application stack as one thing, because then you still have a stack for all the different microservices, and you need to still correlate them. But, put that thinking into place where you design your applications so that they are resilient inherently. And it sounds much easier than it really is.
But I want to key on something that you said, because I think it's a great point, and that is that as technology evolves, we must also evolve, and our process must evolve. And so nobody wants to learn from failure, but I do think that you have to in some
do
cases.
it all the time, yeah.
And so you have to evolve, you have to learn, and you have to apply new resilience methods as those things happen. So.
Yeah, and it's interesting. There's a large share of companies. I think it's around half of companies that live with outages. We asked them, how do you find out about an issue? And I think half of the respondents say, we find out by an angry phone call, by something, that was noticeable by the client, and that has revenue impact, right? And that is something that's not okay. And then you have to think about, instead of blaming the people, getting on those massive phone calls and everybody covers themselves, you think about how can you structure your organization so that you address this gradually. It's a big challenge. Companies have been working on this for decades, right?
Yeah, I feel that waiting for the customer to call and say that it's offline is probably too late, right, at that point. And I think just, a couple of takeaways from me from chatting with both of you, as we've talked about operational resilience today, is there's definitely sort of a couple of themes that I'm hearing. One of them, we did talk about that it does expand beyond tech, right? That we do have to consider the different people and the different processes that are going on, right? And so that's sort of like one aspect of it. The second piece of it is, how do we sort of have this culture, right, of learning and adaptation is one piece of it. That it's not just about sort of responding to it or doing big projects and whatnot, but how do we actually learn, evolve, do better next time, and make ourselves more mature, stronger, whatever the case is, right? I think that is a big piece of it. And then the other part that another sort of interesting takeaway for me is that idea of taking something pretty big and breaking it down into smaller parts, right? Something like this, when we're thinking about, even org design, structure, or changing the way that we work, it's like, that's such a huge project, but it doesn't have to be. If we find maybe the areas of the highest amount of conflict that have some of the maybe easier or some of the lower hanging fruit in terms of change, we can change the small areas of conflict that could affect the entire system. And I think that's for me some of the key takeaways. So one last quick question, right? And if you would entertain me on it, I think it's still early in 2025, and so it's still kind of a fun question to ask and to think about. For the rest of this year, or maybe if you want to think of into 2026, what is going to be some of the bigger challenges for IT teams, maybe even businesses in general, But what does that future look like? What are some of the big things that they have to be on the lookout for as the year progresses and as we start looking into next year? And maybe, George, if you want to start.
Yeah. Of course, AI has to be in every conversation. And from an operations perspective, AI puts a lot of pressure, right? The network, the storage, the processing, you need different clouds. And, a lot of cases, if you don't want to do it all on premises, and then you notice, oh, it's so expensive on cloud, I put it back. But that has also implications on cost, on performance, on everything else. And organizations are at the beginning of establishing visibility and observability for those AI platforms. We all talk about Gen AI, but it's usually a combination of all the different types of AI, and that is a significant challenge because there's also a large risk attached to it. If it's down, it's bad. If you are in a call center and all of a sudden your AI that tells your customers something that's, that violates compliance requirements. So you have to monitor that stuff too. And that will be interesting, right? Then it's not just about performance. It's also about model performance. How well does the model predict? And how error prone is it? And how much maintenance do I need for it? And how do I back that up? Because then it's big, right? And how do I restore it once I've backed it up? So a lot of projects never happen because of that in this area, So it's just like when people first combined traces, slogs, and metrics, right? That was a big new thing, and it's similar here. People kind of accept, oh yeah, this is experimental, but it becomes quickly business critical. Because you think, woof, that makes my people much more productive. And then all of a sudden, you have to still wrap all the operations around it. And I think that's what people are going to be struggling with, not just for the rest of this year, but probably also all of next year.
Yep. And I would key off of that, just the vast amount of data that we're starting to ingest from everywhere, because we think we need it. And it is beneficial to have that data. But how do we manage it? How do we get to a place where that data becomes useful for folks? Which I think is where some of the AI technology can certainly step in and help us. But then also, how do we identify AI use cases that are actually valuable and not just, something to talk about? And so I think we're going to continue to struggle with management of that data and then applying use cases that actually solve problems for us.
Yeah, the data pipeline is a huge deal. It's why a lot of those projects die before they start.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's both something that is a huge opportunity for folks, right? All of that data, collecting it all, having an AI or a machine learning system against it, having all those models can provide a lot of benefits to companies. And also the other side of that coin is there is potential big risk with that.
And you read in the newspaper about that risk once it's happened.
Yep. All right, that's all the time we have today. I really appreciate you both for sitting down with me and having a conversation about this. We covered a lot of topics, and just sort of diving in into what operational resilience is. How do we sort of define it? What are the problems that got us to that place, and then what can we do next about it? So thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
We are so excited about what we showed you here today, including the introduction of SquadCast to the SolarWinds portfolio, support for Google Cloud and SolarWinds Observability, and new SolarWinds AI features, including our Root Cause Assist, Query Advisor, and Runbooks generation, as well as data masking capabilities across our observability, database, and service management offerings. We explored the ongoing challenges shaping IT, from tool consolidation and cloud migration to digital transformation and the rise of AI. But success in these areas requires more than technology. It demands a systems thinking approach, one that looks at the big picture and connects people, process, and technology in a way that drives continuous learning and adaptation. We truly believe in the power of the SolarWinds portfolio and how it can benefit your organization. We also want to hear from you. Join our THWAT community to connect with our product team, share your thoughts, and help shape the future of our solutions. And don't forget to join us on our world tour. We're visiting cities around the world starting this month, bringing you deeper insights and interactive sessions. For over 25 years, SolarWinds has been dedicated to helping you succeed. As your business has evolved, so have we. thank you for joining us. We're here to help you in the era of operational resilience.